Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your host, George Wacker, and today we're talking with Stu Warmington, who I met on Twitter because I posted a picture asking if people ever went to Mox Goot on Linden Street in Bethlehem. It's one of our favorite spots. He responded with, yes, he goes there when he comes here once a year. I said, why once a year? He responded, well, he comes in to help members of the Liberty High School Grenadier Band become better drummers. Stu Warmington served in all 6 Royal Marine bands over his 22-year career and performed for the royal family and various other heads of state while traveling all over the globe, including Jamaica, South Africa, USA, Russia, Oman, Qatar, Australia, and more. And he was also deployed to Kosovo in 2000 and Iraq in 2003. Some of his most memorable engagements include performing at the Queen Mother's funeral, numerous military tattoos around the world, and we'll talk about what they are, and participating in the successful Guinness World Record attempt for the longest continuous group drum roll that we'll also talk about. That was for 64 hours. Stu has played a million places, but one of his most favorite is the 2015 Rugby World Cup, which was streamed over the world to over a billion viewers. He has worked passionately with national youth bands over the years and is the current marching division manager at the British Drum Company. We are proud to welcome Stu Warmington to the podcast, and we want to be sure we thank our sponsors, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, ArtsQuest, and of course, Michael Bernadyn with Remax Realty. This one's a lot of fun. We recorded this on location at Mox Goot because we figured it made sense. So, without further ado, let's learn more about Stu Warmington, what he loves about coming to the United States, and what he does to get the students ready for some serious drumming. Here is Stu Warmington.
So I also do a podcast, strange enough.
You do?
Yeah, so there's a new military tattoo store up in Washington, D.C.
And when you say tattoo, like I've read that, and tattoo, is that like it's like a celebration? Is that more,
It actually comes from the Netherlands,
Okay.
and the word tattoo is being translated from D-den tapto, which means turn off the taps, like the brewery taps. It was the drummers used to go into the old towns and the taverns of a night, getting them to basically tell the tavern owners to turn off the taps for the soldiers to go back, and that's where the word tattoo comes from. So these big ceremonial tattoos around the world, like the Edinburgh military tattoo, is all based from basically getting the soldiers back to camp.
That's interesting, because I did not get that far in the process yet, and that's definitely a couple of the things that I want to start with. But before we get there, hold on one second. I want to make sure I say your name. It's Stu Warmington. It's interesting because this is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
We met strictly through Twitter. I had thrown up a quick tweet because I love Mox Goot, which is where we're at on Linden Street in Bethlehem. And I'm like, do you ever go to Mox Goot? You know, more of kind of like a funny post because I know a lot of people have. And then you said something along the lines of, every time I'm there once per year, I come in, and then I'm like, what do you mean once per year? So you are here once per year can you kind of describe it? You're here to help out with the Liberty Grenadier Band, which is...
Yeah, so I'm their percussion advisor for their drummers. I got approached in 2014 by the old band director, Kevin Long.
Yep.
So I was in the Royal Marines at the time. I served in the Royal Marines from 97 to 2019.
Sure.
And I was in their corps of drums, and we've got quite a unique style. We do a lot of what we call flourishing stick work.
Okay.
And he basically wanted that within the Grenadier band, and he asked, would you be interested in coming across to teach? And I'd never heard of the Liberty Grenadier Band, and obviously, so I went online, looked at them. I was like, wow, there's a band of like 260 people here, all dressed like Coldstream Guards, red tunics, bearskins.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, how do I not know about it? I mean, this is incredible. The fact that they look exactly the same, but the sheer amount of them, I was like, I'm coming over. I definitely want to get involved in this.
I mean, I've lived here for a period of time, but I'm still blown away. Because when you think of high school band, you see movies or whatever, but not here. If you're in a high school band, in this band, you're envied. There's some people in the band that they get a lot of praise from it.
It's such a unique band, even for it to be. If it was in the UK, it'd be unique because we do have a similar style band, but because of the sheer size of it, it's outrageous.
And the fact that they're bringing in a consultant from across the pond, it's not somebody down the street. They're like, could you help out with our drummers? You're bringing in. We'll get into your pedigree, but we're bringing the best of the best.
Yes, I came across in 2014. That was my first year. Had them for a week and completely changed everything. And that was a busy week because nobody had any experience of what I was trying to teach them. It was completely new to them, completely alien.
Let's talk a little, let's get into the weeds a little bit. When you came in and you're talking, I know drums to an extent. What are some of the things that you might be showing them that they might not have learned at that point?
Okay, the biggest feature was the stick work, what we call stick work, which is, you probably see it on TV where the drummers do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, the Royal Marines take it to a whole different level.
Okay.
It's not just, robotic drummers. We have ripples. I mean, they've carved this career out of this. What they do, they are without doubt the best in the world at what they do. This stick work. It's incredible.
Can I make an analogy? I guess not. When you see the rifle work from Marines, is that similar?
So we see going down the line and back up again. That's exactly what the guys do now with the stick. So it was. It was hard for them because they weren't used to doing this, and it's trying to get that muscle memory in. And when you bring your sticks up, not hitting your lips, so it takes a bit.
Your face.
Yeah, it takes a bit of time, not take your teeth. So trying to get that confidence into them and get that muscle memory going. So there was that. So yeah, that was a busy week for that first one.
I want to go back.
Okay.
I want to go all the way back to. No, this is so interesting, but I want to get to that point. So clearly, you're from the UK.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk a little bit about your childhood? I read, I was going through your bio about, kids would be walking into school listening to the latest pop music, but you'd be listening to marching.
Yeah.
So where did that start? What was your introduction?
So that came from my father. He was a drum major in the army. I'm gonna admit it, I was brainwashed pretty much. I was 100% brainwashed.
Good brainwash.
Yeah, it was great. So every time he was on parade, he'd take me with him, and a lot of the parades have got a police presence, or so he'd just throw me in the police car or one of the military vehicles. So I'd be a part of the parade when I was about 5 or 6. And
what part of the what part of the UK?
So I'm from the northeast Newcastle area, so northeast of England. So my father was in the parachute regiment to begin with as a drum major, and then transferred to the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, and then later on I joined them. And it was just ingrained. My sister joined the Navy. She was a snare drummer, so it was a very musical family. And
it's interesting to me because I don't know as much about when you talk about the royal bands within the military.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about how that works? What is the role of the Royal Military within the military itself?
Yeah, so you got many bands in the UK forces. You got the main 5 ones that you see with the bearskins in the tunics. So they're part of the household division. So they're predominantly they're in charge of the changing the guard, the London duties, Buckingham Palace. You see them on the TV all the time. So that's they're constantly in London providing the sort of musical support for the changing the guard. And then you get the Royal Marines who provide musical support for the Royal Navy. They do charity concerts, but they also do trips around the world and perform at tattoos and stuff like this. And whenever a member of family goes abroad, depending on which one it is, they'll take a band with them. So if it's a head of state, they'll go across,
right.
And even when your heads of state come across, they'll get one of our bands as well to do a musical salute.
And do you have to do all the same stuff that everybody else in the military does too?
It changes depending on what your role is.
Okay.
So myself, we were medical. It changes with each sort of conflict or campaign you go in. So I went to Kosovo. I went to Kosovo in 2000, I was part of the Commando Forces Brigade, where we dealt with medical side of things, and we did camp duties and stuff like that. But then when I went to Iraq, I was on board ship, and we were the primary receiving casualty unit. So we were getting casualties from the US, we get them from the Iraqis. It was a neutral ship, and we just bring in all the casualties in, sort them out, and then send them back on the way.
So some of it is pageantry, some of it is I can't think of the right word.
So we
tradition.
So we call it. You got the ceremonial side, and then we call it the green side, which is the military soldiery type stuff. It all depends on what your role is within your specific unit, and even when you go away, what that can that could be. So, like I say, we were on board ship. We had another unit on land. They were part of the chemical decontamination team in case chemicals were used, so they would bring the casualties in and decontaminate them before they went into surgery or what have you.
It's just interesting to me because there's the part of it where you're a elite musician, working. But then there's the other part of it where you're still, part of the military and participating in that. I guess there's a balance there where.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you're meant to be musicians first, and then obviously you got a green side. But you just react to the situation. Like one of our guys, a few of the bands down in the Marines now have been issuing the COVID jabs. They've been going around and getting the train, and they've been injecting people with the COVID jab. So it took about 2 or 3 bands out of the system because that's all they were doing in the UK, just going out. And so that leaves just a couple of bands to do the
like nobody's left for them.
The musical support. So it's been a busy time for them.
And you were 22 years in there, and I'm even going through the photos we're going to share. I mean, some of these people that you have played for, the royal family, clearly multiple times. How is that? Like, that's got to be, that's the pinnacle of this type of music, I would imagine, in that ceremonial.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And depending on what engagement it is, sometimes you do
a good one, hopefully.
Yeah,
a ceremonial one.
Yeah, you're doing Changing the Guard at Buckingham Palace. That's always going to be a great one because, you never know who's going to come in or out. And then you've got a lot of the public there, the tourists, so that's great. But then you can go and do something like the Invictus Games, which I did when members of the royal family there. So Prince Harry was there, so we had a chat there. So it's just, you just never know who you're going to bump into when you go to these engagements. You just don't know.
What does Prince Harry say to you? He's just like, you did a great job.
Yeah, we were just chatting awesome. About different things, but very down to earth, and what you see is pretty much what you get.
I mean, you've been all over the world, besides royal family and maybe some of these prestigious people you played for. Are there any memories in some of the corners of the world that you played in that really stick with you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been extremely lucky to,
Right.
I've always said, it's not a job for me. It's just been a paid hobby because it's what I wanted to do from such a young age, and I just focused fully on that, and that's what I did. And once I got in, and I literally just got paid to travel the world, and I'm so thankful for that because I know a lot of people would love to do that.
Sure.
And, I've been everywhere from Jamaica, South Africa, Australia. I've been to the USA numerous times, all over Europe. So I feel really good, but. Meeting people, we did a world record attempt.
I have that in here to ask, but go ahead with it.
Yeah, so 2014, it was the Royal Marines anniversary for 350 years since its formation. So all these commandos are doing these feats of endurance and challenges. And I was like, we should be doing something like that with the drummers, because the drummers were there right at the start of when the Royal Marines were formed. So, the actual drummers are 350 years old as well. Wow. And we're the oldest branch in the service, the Buglers branch, so which is why we should do something for this. So I got thinking, I was like, why are we doing the longest group drum roll? So we're going to do that, and we had it at the Tower of London. We set it all at the Tower of London, and I think the record was a high school band in the US somewhere. It might have been Michigan. I think a band in Michigan. Okay. And it was 28 hours was their target. 28 hours.
Come on.
So we decided that. We were formed in 1664, so we had to have that number somewhere in the target. So we said, right, let's go for 64 hours.
All right.
So we set up the Tower of London, open-top double-decker bus, and it's some of the worst weather you've seen in May. Oh. It was lashing it down, and the guys, we couldn't go anywhere. You just had to drum there and just roll. But the event was started by Harrison Ford and Tom Hardy. They came and started the event, so...
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that was,
So what, did it end up just the weather was too bad to continue, or how?
No, we reached.
Did you get it? Okay.
Yeah, so we did 64 hours, 28 minutes and 59 seconds. So
you set it up there like the weather was bad, but so you did achieve that.
Yeah, we just carried on, and
So what do you do? So you keep going, then when it's time for you to finish, somebody just has to just.
Well, it's a constant roll. So you're rolling. You've got somebody there on standby in case you get cramp or anything like that, and then when it's time to change, you get a little bit of time where you can both roll at the same time. You get about 5 or 6 seconds, and one's moving across as the other one's sliding across, and then once you're ready, that first one will stop, and then the next person will come and sit down. And
so how long would you go at a period of time?
We were doing about 15 minutes, basically because it's cold, and once your fingers get cold, it gets hard. Yeah,
for that long would be crazy. And then so you travel, like we talked about, you travel, you've been to all these amazing things. What are some of the reasons that you would? I think you've mentioned some of them. But why would you go to Jamaica? Is it not a peacekeeping thing, but more like a pageantry?
No, yeah. So that was a military tattoo.
Okay.
Sometimes we would come across the US to play at the embassy in Washington. That was quite a regular thing every October. It just depended. It was all different reasons, anniversaries for different regiments or stuff like that. So majority of them were, international ceremonial tattoos, though.
And then, can you talk a little bit about the British Drum Company, which is, we said, you've been in the Royal Marines for 22 years. Now you're with the British Drum Company. What is that exactly? Is it what it sounds like, or?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much what it says on the tin. So it sort of goes back around about 2015. I was an ambassador for another drum company called Premier. Quite a big English company. And they were making products in the UK, and I'd started working on a marching drum with them, a brand new marching drum, and then they closed the UK manufacturing down, and then everything was just being made in Taiwan, so we had a few guys that were made redundant, and one of them was a guy called Keith Keogh, and he basically said, I'm going to start my own company up. Are you interested in heading up the marching division? I was like, let's do that. So 2015, we set the British Drum Company up. We had 3 people on the shop floor, and then now I think we've got about 25.
Are you manufacturing?
Yeah, everything's all hand built in the UK. We've got a factory in Stockport, which is near Manchester.
Okay.
We've got some big artists. So
is it mostly is it most of the bass drums that we see, or is it all?
We do drum sets. We do snare drums. We do marching drums. So within the marching drums, you do traditional drums, pipe band drums, such as a whole plethora of different types of drums. And we've got some big artists. We've got Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden.
I love it.
So he's one of the shareholders as well within the company, but he's obviously one of the artists.
That's great.
Drummer Ian Matthews from Kasabian, so he's on the board as well. And so, yeah, it's just basically it's a group of drummers who set up the company for drummers type of thing.
Right. So we understand your plate.
Yeah.
Talk then about hopefully people who listen to our podcast, or people who are familiar with Bethlehem, are familiar with the Liberty Grenadier Band, and even I came here. I've lived here for about 20 years, and I still didn't really fully appreciate the band that we have until I've been to a couple home football games. I've seen them, and no disrespect to any other band in the area, but you see them paired up to other bands, and you're just like, wow, the quality of musicians, the quality of instructors makes you proud. And again, we have that, I don't know, maybe that American stereotype of, hey, if you're in the band, you're a band geek. Not in this band. I've been in football games, and when they do some of these, different, when they have their time in between plays and stuff, all eyes are on them. It's amazing. It's like you want to be a part of it. So my question in all of that is, how did you originally get contacted? You kind of alluded to it, and then let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the former band director, Kevin Long, found me on LinkedIn somehow.
That's great.
Obviously, I didn't know who he was. And then he just basically connected with me, sent me a message straight away saying, look, I've got...
What a great way, though. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's awesome to say about him, that he's looking for the best of the best.
I know, and he's done it with a few other people, which I'll go on to in a minute. But yeah, he contacted me and said, do you want to come over and teach the band? And like I said before, I had never even heard of them, which is really unique for me, because I'm a bit of a marching geek, and I sort of know bands from all over the world, and even youth bands, but I'd not heard of this. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm coming across for this. So, and then we came down and got a tour of the whole school, and then the band. I was like, wow, because youth bands in the UK don't have anything like this. And it's what's so unique about this band is not only its look and its tradition, it's the parents club as well, which is the amount of fundraising they do and how they go about it. I was blown away. We don't have anything like that in the UK, and it's just constant fundraising, getting money into the students' quota, and they get to travel. They've been to Hawaii, they've been to Pasadena for the Roses Parade a few times, they've been to the UK, New York. They just go all over. It's incredible, but I absolutely love coming here. There's been a couple of times where I've been walking down Main Street and somebody's called me name. It's weird, and it's just you just get to know people, and since coming here since 2014, I say it, people laugh at it, but it's like a second home. I know where everything is, I know where people are, and it's just great.
Let's talk about that before we'll talk about the students too, but again, we started this because we had an affinity. I live down the street.
Okay.
You live across the world. But it's fun, like you found this place, and I'm assuming it's kind of close to Liberty. You're probably like, hey, where's the closest spot I can come into? But like, what has your experience been in a pub, so to speak, like Mox Goo?
I mean, so my first year, I was by myself, and I was walking down from the school, and I didn't have a car. The weather was lovely because it was summer, so I just thought I'd explore the place because it's new to me. And I just happened to come across Max Goot. I was like, it's a sports bar. This is looking good. Went in, had a beer, don't mind admitting, and then ordered some wings. Wow, that was it. That was it. Every year I come past, I'll have the wings, please. I love the wings here.
It's just, that's what I loved about our interaction, because it's just it's universal, and it's still, even though you're worlds apart, you're just like, I love it for what it is, that neighborhood, and you love it the same reason that we love it for where we live.
Yeah, it was just something very homely about this place. I felt very relaxed.
We feel like we're setting up, not that we have a ton of equipment, but nobody even bats an eyelash. They're like,
no, it's great, so every time I come across, I always make a point of stopping. So I brought my wife last time. My wife came in and we had some wings here, and I've got some friends coming later on. They're going to have some wings, so it's all good.
Well, let's talk then with your interaction with the students. I think it's fantastic, because you're kind of like you're a consultant. You're a drum consultant. That's what you're coming in to do. So when you come and visit, can you talk about those visits? Like, what's the amount of time that you spend? What are some of the things that you do while you're here?
Okay. So a typical the week Monday to Friday. Friday's normally written off because we have the photographs at the end of the week where they get the band out in the front of the stairs and get the big photographs. So I've pretty much got 4 days with them to change. Now each year I'll get a whole new class who've never because we play traditional grip as opposed to match grip. So if you're normally you play like this, drums, but we play like this,
like the guy from Rolling Stones, Charlie.
So you've then got to teach them the whole new style of holding that left stick, and especially if they're not left-hand dominant, that's a big change for them.
Is that integral? Like, is that the grip is a big...
Yeah, because the drums aren't on harnesses, they're on a sling, so they're on an angle, which why you've got to use that grip. And obviously it's a little bit easier for when you're doing the stick work. So you've got people who've never marched with drums on slings before, never used this traditional grip.
And it's like trying to write with a pencil in a new grip, I would imagine.
And never done any stick work before. That is completely alien. And so you're teaching that, and then I've got 4 days to teach them a field show, and within that there's a big drum display. And they're not easy, but do you know what's so good about the students over here is they're really good at reading music, and they're like sponges. They just soak it all in. It's amazing how fast they pick things up. So I've got 4 days. We rehearse from about 8 in the morning till about 3 in the afternoon. Sometimes we come in from 6 till 9. Depending if we need how big the music is, because we played some big pieces in the past. 2014 was a big year. We'll do some big music. So that's it.
Is it? I mean, it's interesting to me when you talk about even that grip, because I know it sounds like a small thing, but that to me would be a monumental thing if I'm a young player. It's like, wait, you're changing how I hold a baseball or a cricket bat, right?
Yeah.
You're changing that.
Just reverse it.
Right. So it's like, okay, this is good, but oh man. So like, do you also work on their confidence and kind of like,
Yeah, sometimes we do like section leaders courses on leadership and stuff like that. But it's just trying to build a friendly environment, an atmosphere they want to be in, and you don't knock anybody down. You give them pointers how to improve, but I think they listen to everything you say because of the accent. They're just...
You're like, this guy's serious. Why is he here?
So they're like, so they're focused on that, but it's just a different style, and so... But they love it, but it's a little bit different this year because I've not been for a couple of years because of COVID, so I've now got... I've got 2 years with the people who've not done this before.
So trying to bring them up to speed as well.
Yeah, so it's...
I mean, not everybody not everybody wants to teach, some people, they become very, what is the value in you? Why do you enjoy, you get to come to the beautiful city of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but what do you get back from working with students?
I give back what I was given in the first place, I got taught many years ago, and even from a young age, I was teaching other people. Youth bands when I was 15, 16, I was teaching them, and I've always been teaching somebody of some description down the line, and it's not to gain anything, it's more for them to gain something. They gain the knowledge or the experience, and I just pass it on. It just flows through like a river, and goes on to the next person. Hopefully later on in life they can do the same as well.
Do you have any of your friends in your line of work where you've told about Liberty and they've been blown away? Like, is it...
So my first visit was 2014.
Right.
That was at summer, and then I came across for the Liberty Freedom game.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was insane.
That's just our city. Like, it's crazy.
So I was with them there for what they call Spirit Week.
Sure, yeah.
And I was seeing all the different uniforms every day, and I mean the atmosphere for that week was electric.
That's
awesome. And I've always said to the band directors, whenever we stop this program we've got, make sure I stop on a Freedom game, because it's such an amazing atmosphere. But in 2015 we brought a group of Royal Marines across to perform at the spring concert. Okay. But we dressed them up so they weren't Royal Marines, because it's not the sort of thing you can do. So we came under the banner of the Britannic Drummers, and I brought 5 of the guys across, and we performed at the concert. But they couldn't believe it, the whole setup, and they were just as in awe as I was when I first came. But we don't get anything like this in the UK.
And is that, now I'm going to go way beyond my comfort level and knowledge here. Is it because something is like the Cool Guard? What is that? Or there's like the way that Liberty is, their tradition, wasn't it taken a little bit from...
It was taken from the Foot Guards in the UK, yeah. So we've got, although they're called Grenadiers, their uniforms based off the Coldstream Guards. So you got the Foot Guards...
Coldstream Guards, okay, sorry, see, I'm pushing. I knew some of it.
So you got the Foot Guards in the UK, which comprises of the Grenadier Guards, the Coldstream Guards, the Irish, the Scots, and the Welsh, and that's the 5 regiments of the Foot Guards. So although they're called Grenadiers, all their uniforms styled off the Coldstreams.
Okay, so like when we see what we're looking at, that is kind of modeled or taken.
It's identical, apart from some of the flashes are slightly different because it's got the names on, but they use the same tailor as the Guards. They bring it's Cashkits and Sons. They bring them across from London, and they size the guys up. So the tunics are exactly the same as the Foot Guards.
It's just amazing, and I hate to be the guy who continues to repeat it, but it's just amazing still. Like, even when you see them, you talk about a Freedom Liberty game. I'm fortunate enough to run the digital board at some of the Liberty games. So I have the front row, well, maybe not the front row, but the best seat in the house to watch some of these things. And it does give you goosebumps, not only because of the size, but just how well choreographed, how well trained they are. Can you speak to, obviously, Kevin Long, who was here for a very long time, but now Alan Frank, who I know pretty well. I went to Moravian University with him. So I obviously met them both in 2014. Obviously, Alan's from the USMC, so obviously he's a Marine at heart. I'm a Marine at heart. So you guys have that synergy there.
Yeah, the brotherhood. But Alan's all about the discipline. He's always been all about the discipline, and that's what you need. Somebody needs to be concentrating on the discipline. Somebody needs to concentrate on the music. Between them two, you get the perfect outcome, and which is what they've had and what they've still got now. Even though they've changed. Alan's gone up to the band director. Nothing's changed. The band is still working hard, and
and with you now, let's talk about you as we kind of finish up. What do you like? You come here, when do you leave? In a couple of days? You come for 10 days at a time, that sort of thing?
Well, so I normally come for about 7 days, but I was previously in Washington a couple of days ago for the... we just started a Washington tattoo. So I'll just quickly go about the tattoo. So the word tattoo, everybody associate with some ink on your arm or a sleeve.
When I see it, that's why I'm trying to make sense of it.
So the word tattoo is a Dutch word, and it comes from the word die-den taptoe. And it was in the olden days, and the tavern keepers, the army drummers, would go around the town drumming, and that was called a tattoo. And it's basically telling the innkeepers to turn off the taps and send all the soldiers home to the barracks.
Right.
So these drummers drumming turned into this international tattoo where it got bigger and bigger and bigger. The most famous one's the Royal Edinburgh Tattoo, which is in Edinburgh Castle. Mm-hmm. It's on for a month in August, and these have happened all over the world. So we're basically starting one in Washington DC.
You're starting one?
Yeah. So we've got a committee going, and we've just been doing some small events. Because of COVID, we've had to do some digital events. And we had a gala. When was it? Monday just gone. We brought some dancers over from Australia to perform. We had the Spirit of 76 pipe band, and
so the goal of that is to have an annual event?
It's to bring it up. So maybe 2025 we have a big international tattoo somewhere in the centre of DC.
And maybe we can bring Liberty down.
You never know.
They played in, like you just said, they played in bigger places. Like, I'll just say, I was at the library. They had a book sale event. This is our public library, and there they have records. And there was one at Liberty. There was also one at Freedom High School.
Wow.
From like 1984 on a vinyl record. And you're just like, these are things that our local high schools are producing. It just still blows my mind.
I know. So I've got a couple of their CDs when they went across to the UK and played with the Coldstream Guards. So
do they have a Spotify? They should if they don't.
I'm not too sure.
I'm gonna have to talk to them. So then, talk about again yourself anymore with the drum company. Like, is that just sort of a hey, if that's something you're into, that's what you're gonna?
Yeah. So I left the Marines in 2019, and then started straight away full time with the British Drum Company. We launched the traditional drums. We actually got the Royal Marines to take them on. That was nothing to do with me.
I'm sure they didn't.
They came to us.
That's great.
So we launched them in March.
I bet it was Iron Maiden pitch. That's what so like they have the guy from Iron Maiden. We're gonna go with them.
So that was in March, and then in August we launched the pipe band drum, and then obviously in October, November time, COVID hit, and then we've had 2 years of up and down, and can you get parts, and how much is shipping going to cost, and so. But now with the UK's pretty much back to normal. You don't have to wear masks if you don't want to. 90% of the country's fully jabbed up, and so we can see it opening back up again. We can see the orders going out, and it's everything's get back to normal. So I mean, it's great to see.
And besides Mock Scoot, we'll leave on this. And I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna. Besides Mock Scoot, is there anything else? And it doesn't have to be Bethlehem. Just in your travels through the United States. Like, what do you appreciate about?
Well, I'll tell you what I like about Bethlehem.
You can go ahead. Yeah.
So please. I couldn't do it this time because of the rehearsals at the school. But I normally go watch the Iron Pigs.
The opening day the other day.
Yeah. Right. So was that Tuesday? I think the opening game.
Yes,
so we had rehearsals, so I could make it. But I always go and watch the Iron Pigs. It's the first time I went to it. It was. I've not been to a baseball, and obviously it's not the major league, but it's such a family environment,
and that's what it's supposed. Yeah, with the AAA, right? It's supposed to be like bring everybody.
It was amazing. I've not experienced anything like that at all. So I always try and get a game in if I can.
I think she won't get mad at me. My wife will go to Iron Pigs games, and I don't know if she's watched any actual baseball because there's so much more things that we're walking around. There's a playground for our daughter in the back. There's so much good food. So yeah, I mean it's definitely
it's definitely a family-oriented thing. We brought a family across in 2017, I think it was. And my daughter at the time, I think she must have been about 9 or 10. She's there with a big smoked turkey. It was bigger than her head. It was amazing.
So it's funny. In addition to you, there's another person on Twitter. They're like UK Iron Pigs fans.
Wow.
So you should find them. I think I retweeted one of their things. So.
That's amazing.
Listen, Stu, this has been fantastic. I love that. Like, this will always be special to me, the way that we kind of interact. And we're like, do you want to do let's just have a
it's
podcast.
Amazing.
Like,
it's amazing how this whole thing just came about, just from me answering something on Twitter, and then it expanded into, and here we are.
And I mean, that's what my whole thing is, just like, why not? And this is fantastic. You learn so much. And then what is great about this, too, is we learn more about ourselves and the appreciation of things that we have from somebody else, looking at it and saying, you guys realize you have like a really unique, thing. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you to Mock Scoot for
definitely. I'm gonna have some chicken wings now, so that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't even mind that I set up. I don't think anybody asked me any questions on it set up. Stu,
thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And next time you're in town, please hit us up ahead of time.
I will definitely.
We'll go to an Iron Pigs game. Maybe get like a first pitch or something.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Another big thank you to Stu Warmington and, of course, Mock Scoot on Linden Street in Bethlehem for allowing us to record our podcast there. Big thank you to our sponsors, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, ArtsQuest, and, of course, Michael Bernadyn with Remax Realty. Everything is in our show notes, or you can hit us up at LehighValleywithLoveMedia.com. You can email me at info@LehighValleywithLoveMedia.com, and we will talk to you next time.